All right, so today we are going to be rounding numbers to the nearest 100. So our learning target is round numbers to nearest 100 to estimate sums and differences. All right, Lyric, what is a sum? It's the answer to what? What kind of problem, Marin? It's the answer to an addition problem, and a difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So we're going to do this so we can solve real world math problems that involve rounding. Yes? All right. We should have some schema on rounding. We've talked about it, and we're going to practice it today. So to be successful, you'll be able to round numbers to the nearest 100, estimate sums and differences, and estimate to decide if the answers are reasonable. Here we go. I have a book I want to read to you. It's called Coyotes All Around. It's by Stuart Murphy. You're going to need your dry erase board, your marker, and a sock so you can participate in the thinking process as I read this book aloud to you. So the book is going to kind of guide us with some problems. So here we go. So this book is called Coyotes All Around. It's by Stuart J. Murphy, illustrated by Steve Bjorkman. And I believe this is a newer book. Let's see if you guys can find out the age. It was published in, well, don't see it in here. Hold on. Here we go. It is published. It was published 2003. How old is this book? 2003. Well, we're in the year 2021. What do you think, Haley Booker?
I think that it is 15 years old.
Nope, you're close, Lennox. 18 years old. Nice job. Raise your hand if you're older than this book. Raise your hand if you're younger than this book. Yeah, I better not have any 18-year-olds in my class. Coyotes all around. Clumsy Coyote. What? This doesn't sound right. Clumsy Mrs. Aubin forgot a page. One afternoon, a pack of coyotes gathered on the porch of their desert ranch. Look at all those roadrunners, said Clumsy Coyote. Said Clever Coyote. Isn't it just about lunchtime? There must be hundreds of them, said Cool Coyote. Hundreds, said Clever Coyote. That's ridiculous. There can't be that many. Why don't you guys count and see how many there really are? Here's a factoid. Can I have whole body listening real quick? Stop, please. Put that away. Marker lids are on. You don't need it yet. Here's a factoid for you. Coyote can be pronounced coyote or coyote. So you could call it a coyote, or you could call it a coyote. Either way is correct. Clumsy Coyote said, I'll take this side. Careful Coyote took the smallest coyote, little one, and said, let's try over here. I've got the best side, bragged Cool Coyote. Everyone started counting. Everyone except Clever Coyote. Here's a factoid. Roadrunners can fly, but they usually run. They can go as fast as 15 miles an hour. That's pretty fast for a bird. 21. I counted exactly 21. I got 12. Well, I got 17. Gee, I only counted 8. Clever Coyote was starting to get hungry. While everybody was busy counting, she slunk, she crept, she jumped, she missed. Factoid, coyotes will eat almost anything from rabbits and mice to insects, berries, fruits, and even garbage. I think because we live in the mountains, we know that, because just like a bear, you can't keep your trash out. Oof, said Clever Coyote. That ground was hard. So how many birds were there? I need a piece of paper to add everything up, said Careful. Huh, said Clever Coyote. I bet I can do it in my head and come really close. No way, said Little One. Factoid, coyotes can be found all over North America. Even in Florida, they have coyotes. Yep. All right, 21 is, oh, here we go. Are you guys ready? Here we go. 21 is very close to 20. 12 is close to 10. 17 is closer to 20 than to 10. And 8 is almost 10. Adding 10s is easy. 20 plus 10 plus 20 plus 10 equals? And if you look up here, it's like a curved number line, right? Because showing what numbers are closer. Around 60 roadrunners, said Clever Coyote. Notice that Clever Coyote used the word around. That's called an estimate, right? It's not exact. Careful took out a pencil and paper and added up the numbers. It's exactly 58, he said. She was just a little over. They don't call me clever for nothing, said Clever Coyote. So sometimes when we round our numbers, we do that to get an estimate, to see about how many something there are. But then you might want to see how close you were and get the exact amount when you get your receipt and see how much you actually did spend. I bet there are lots of lizards out there, said Clumsy. Where there are road runners, there are lizards. Hey, you're right, said Cool Coyote. It looks like there are thousands of them. There can't be that many, said Clever Coyote. Why don't you count them and see? Factoid, zebra-tailed lizards wave their striped tails to distract their enemies. I didn't even know there was a zebra-tailed lizard. That's pretty cool. I counted 11. I beat you again. Exactly 13. I'm way ahead with 27. I only counted 2. All right, so here's what I want you to do. On your board, I want you to write the number 11. And then I want you to write what you would round that to. If you're rounding it to the nearest 10. What would you round 11 to? Then underneath it, write 13. Round it to the nearest 10. Then 27. And round it to the nearest 10, and then 2. For example, I'll just do a little sticky here. 11 rounds to what? Then you have 13, then you have 27, then you have 2. What are you gonna round each one to? 11 would round to what? Microphone answer. 13 would round to? 27. What would 2 round to? Add them up, see about how many lizards do you think Clever Coyote will count? All right, see if you get it right. Clever Coyote was very hungry. While everybody was busy counting, she prowled, she stalked, she pounced, she missed. Factoid, most adult coyotes are about 4 feet long from tip to tail and 2 feet tall. Ouch, said Clever Coyote. That rock was really pointy. So how many lizards were there? I'll get my paper, said Careful. Don't bother, said Clever Coyote. I'll do it in my head again. So she's going to round, right? Make an estimate. 11 is just 1 over 10. 13 is closer to 10 than to 20. 27 is closer to 30 than to 20. 2 is a lot closer to 0 than to 10. Now I'll add up all my 10s. Around 50 lizards, Clever Coyote said. Careful wrote the numbers down and added them up. It's exactly 53, he said. She was just a little under. That's why they call me clever, said Clever Coyote. How many of you got 50? Awesome. Okay, so we're going to stop there because this goes on. We'll do more tomorrow with the coyotes and see what other, not tomorrow, Monday, yeah, that's what I mean. So now we are going to continue. That was rounding to the nearest 10. We were going to look at rounding to the nearest 100, but I thought that would get you guys going. Let's look at how it would be if we were rounding numbers to the nearest 100.
Math Coach presents
Put your marker with that.
rounding to the nearest 100. We use rounding when we want to estimate. Rounding gives us numbers that are easy to use, like 100, 200, 300, and so on.
You don't need pencil.
Rounding numbers help you solve everyday problems where you don't need an exact answer. That's called an estimate. Rounding might look hard, but hey, guess what? If you know how to put numbers in order and can skip count by hundreds, you can learn to round any number to the nearest 100 with ease. Here are some useful things to know. You can show any number on a number line. Numbers to the right have a greater value than numbers to the left. The nearest 100 on either side of our number is a useful benchmark. And the midpoint is the number that is halfway between two benchmarks. If the number you want to round is less than the midpoint, round down. If the number you are rounding is at the midpoint or greater than the midpoint, round up. You can round any number to the nearest 100 in 4 easy steps. Let's see how. Let's round 527 to the nearest 100.
Write it on your board.
Step 1. Figure out what benchmarks to use. To the nearest 100 tells you to choose the 100 before 527 and the 100 after 527. 500 is the lower benchmark, and 600 is the higher benchmark. Now you can set up a number line and mark your benchmarks.
So look at it
Step
for
2.
nearest 100, not
Find
10.
the midpoint between 500 and 600. That's the number that is exactly in the middle. The midpoint is 550. Step 3. Now locate 527 on the number line. 527 is less than 550. So now you are ready for step 4. You can round. 527 is closer to 500 than to 600.
Do you see it?
To the nearest 100, 527 rounds down to 500.
How many of you got it right? Give me a
Sometimes
thumbs
the
up.
nearest 100 is 0. Let's round 49 to the nearest hundred.
Write it on your
The
board, which
benchmarks
one you
are
think.
0 and 100. The midpoint is 50. 49
It's either
is
gonna
less
be
than
0 or 100,
So, to the nearest hundred, 49 rounds down to 0.
right?
And sometimes the nearest
Writing it.
hundred is 1,000. Look at 975. The benchmarks are 900 and 1,000.
1,000 is really
This
10
one
hundredths.
Is 950.
Wait, are we going to?
975
You can raise
is
your
greater
hand.
than 950. So, to the nearest hundred, 975 rounds to 1,000.
All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna think about the strategies. Mathematicians, we are ready. We're gonna look at page 223. We're gonna do a little bit of rounding to the nearest hundred. And then we're going to estimate using our rounding skills. Remember what we talked about earlier in the year when we looked at rounding, when we look in the tens place, the digit in the tens place? Who remembers our chant? Yeah.
5 and above, give it a shot. Below, 4 below, give it a kick.
Take it down. All right, so Astria just reminded us, look at that digit in the tens place. If it's 5 and above, give it a shove, go to the higher hundred. If it's 4 and below, you would take it down low to the lower hundred. All right, so Tasha read 3 books over the summer. Here is the number of pages in each book. She read Watership Down, which is 494 pages. Sounder, which is 128 pages long, and The Secret Garden, which is 368 pages. About how many pages did Tasha read? Explain how you made your estimate. Well, let's look at 494. No, it's been happening all day. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. Okay, 494. Henrik, let's do it. You're doing this whole problem with me. Ready? What would I do to estimate how many pages Tasha read? I need to round to the nearest hundred. How would I round 494? And we got 494. It's already there. What are we going to do? Why is it going to round to 500? There's a 9 in the tens place, and we know 5 and above, give it a shove. All right, Henrik, next one. What about for sounder? What am I going to round 128 pages to?
Round it down to 100.
How do you know? You're right. Four and below, take it down low. There's a 2 in the tens place, so it goes down low. Okay, what's the next one, Henrik? Then you're writing these. We have 368 pages. What are we going to round that one to? 400. Now what do we do, Henrik, to find out how many? About, that key word about is telling me I'm estimating, right? That means it's an estimate. How am I going to find about how many pages Tasha read? Add them all. Help me. What do I do? Okay. At 1,000, you could also add your zeros. Zeros, 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 4 is 10. So she read about 1,000 pages, yes? You guys are writing this? And how did we do that? Who can explain in words what we just did? Josh, go ahead.
So what we just did is we rounded 494 to like 28, 368, and then we added them all, and then we added them all up.
Okay, we rounded to the nearest 100 by looking at the digit in the tens place, didn't we? Yeah, by looking at the digit in the tens place. So you're writing, then we added. Then we added. Okay, go ahead and write that. Go ahead and write that down. Because I want you to remember that strategy. Because here in a moment, we're going to continue with our rounding work. I want you to remember to look in that tens place when you're rounding to the nearest 100. When you are rounding to the nearest 10, you're going to have to look at the digit in the ones place. So when I come around, I'm going to ask that you have not, if you have not done that work, the rounding and the adding, would you do that now? So I want everybody to do it. This is not just for me to do, it's for you to do for a model. That'll give you something to look at. Yeah, we'll right there. Just as long. So we're rounding. So this would be rounding to 500. This is the top of that big chef, four and below. So write those down, add them up, and then you're going to write round it to the nearest 100 by looking at the digit in the tens place. That's what we're doing. Mr. Cooper. Wow, this side of the room from Josh over, you guys are on it. Thank you to Henrik for guiding us through his thinking. Then we added, okay. All right, so thinking about that strategy, we can also think about the strategy in the video where we find our benchmarks, the 200s that your number is between, thinking about the midpoint, right, with the 50, and then thinking where that number would fall on a number line. You can do that too. I've always found looking in the digit, the tens place is easiest. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. You can visualize it in your head. So you have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I make 9 problems here that I want you to round to the nearest 100. So we're not going to pull out our secret code cards, but before we do it, I'm going to look at number 9 with you because it's a little different. It's in the thousands place. So Serne, I'm still asking you to round this to the nearest 100. Do you have any ideas for what that would be like if it's in the thousands place, but I'm still rounding it to the nearest 100? Or is it just kind of baffle you? Not sure? Any ideas, Charlie? No. I'm going to give you a little hint. When you are rounding to the nearest 100, you're going to just put the 1,000 there, okay? Go ahead and just put the 1,000 there. And now treat the rest of the number like you would any of the others. Can we try that? Now what would I do, Surnay? How would I round 481 to the nearest hundred? Look in the tens place still, and there's an 8. Yeah, so if you didn't hear my friends at home, Surnay said that you would look in the tens place, and if the digit is 5 or above, you round up. If it's 4 or below, you round down. So my benchmarks are going to be 400 and 500. Charlie, is 481 closer to 400 or 500? 500. So this is going to round to 1,500. Make sure you write that down because on number 10, you're going to have to round to the nearest hundred and you have a 2 in the thousands place. All right, you've got a couple minutes. Go ahead and round those. Work on your own independently, and you only have 8 problems to do. We're rounding these numbers to the nearest hundred. On your marks, get set, go.
I already started.
Awesome. There's no talking, and if you finished them all, you weren't listening, and that tells me you weren't following directions, so that's nothing to be proud of. Right? You were supposed to be listening. Not doing that. So they must have been working when I was explaining. And that's not, and folks got it wrong. That's a good lesson, isn't it? And you've done that before. You didn't hear anything that I said, and I thought it was real. We got it on there too. Let me tell you guys something. Being the first one done is not the goal. It doesn't mean that you're the smartest or that you get it the best. Usually it means you messed up, right? Because you did. And it tells me you're not listening, and that's disrespectful. So that's a lot of negatives there. We don't want that. Learn from it and make better choices. If you are finished, you can work on number 11. You are finished, you can work on number 11. Give it a shot, or go ahead, take it down. Yeah, we got that. Thank you. You have a good day today, Haley.
I know that.
I know, I don't know why they told me to do. All right, show me in your fingers if you need 0 minutes or more. More would be 1 up. All right, if you need more, it looks like some people still do. I want you to listen. Haley Calendar, 128. What would I round that to?
128. Wait, what? 100.
Excellent. Number 3, Jensen, 271. What would I round that to?
Wait, let me check. 300.
Excellent. Number 4, Gavin, 376. What would I round that to the nearest hundred? Gavin Sanders, number 4, 376. What would I round that to? Gavin, can you unmute, please? Okay, I'll be sending an email to mom and dad, or you can unmute and tell me what's going on, buddy. Otherwise, I gotta talk to your parents if you're not gonna participate. Can you check on Gavin Sanders? He's not.
I'm sorry, I was with sixth
Reese,
second graders.
Can you
They have the
unmute?
answer. They have the answer.
All right, good job, second graders. Let's hear from Reese. Number 4, 376. What would you round that to get to the nearest hundred?
You would round it to 400.
You are so smart. Number 5, Katie, 649. What would you round it to get to the nearest hundred?
I would round it to 600.
Yep, bingo. Well done. Number 6, Henry, 415. What would you round it to?
400.
You are on it. All right, let's hear from who's Ben. Number 7, this one's tricky, 550, right in the middle. What would you round it to, Mr. Bowers?
600.
Ding, 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 ding. Nicely done, my dear. Is Gavin around?
I chatted with him asking where you are.
All right, Leo, this one's tricky. Number 8, 62. What would you round 62 to the nearest hundred? Check your work, Finn. Put that down. Check that work. Leo,
62 would be rounded to 62 would be rounded to 100.
look in the tens place, Leo. There's a 6. What do we know about 6?
100.
There you go. 5 and above, give it a shove. 4 and below, take it down low. And now the hard one. 2,615. Oh my goodness. Astria, what do you think?
You write your 200.
1,000, you mean?
Yeah. And then it would be 600.
Why is it 2,600? What did you look at?
Because you still need a round in hundreds. So you look at the 1 and 5, 4 and below, push it down below, 5
Bob, give it a. All right. Nicely done. How did you do? 5 to 5. 5 being got most of them. Or well, how about 5 being you got them all right? 4 got most of them. 3 maybe half. 2 only a couple. Wow. Okay. Look. Let's see at home. How'd you guys do? 5 to 5. Reese is doing good. That's rounding to the nearest hundred. Let's see if I can see my friends at home. Katie looking good. Henry's good. Jensen's feeling good. Ben's feeling good. Yay. All right. Okay. All right, kiddos. We're gonna look at a little bit of estimating and using rounding to do that. So at the Lakeside School on page 224, should be the next page. There are 200, oh boys, I'm not sure what's going on. What can I help with? What's happening? Are you helping him with fourth grade math?
I would wait.
Nixon, leave Robert alone, honey. He's in math class. He's doing math now. What page are we on, Robert? Page 224. At the Lakeside School, there are 286 second graders, 341 third graders, and 377 fourth graders. About how many students are there at the Lakeside School? About. What are we going to do, Cooper, to figure out the answer? We're going to round them. Okay, you want to do it with me, Cooper? Can you do it? All right, you guys are going to do it in your book. Ready? What would we round 286 to? Look at him go. 286 is going to round to 300 because there's an 8 in the tens place. What about 341? He says 341 is going to round to 300 as well because now we've got a 4 in the tens place. 4 below, take it down low, and then we have 377 fourth graders. What are we going to do, Cooper? Because why? For seventh grader. All right, help me out with this part. Now we have to add them. Let's see. All these zeros. I thought he said 4,000. What did you say? All right, walk me through it. How do you know, Cooper? Excellent. 300 plus 300, 600, and is 1,000. All right, so about how many about how many students are there? 1,000 students. All right. I'm going to do one more, then see if you can do the last one on your own. Last week, Mrs. Larson drove 191 miles on Monday, 225 miles on Wednesday, and 107 miles on Friday. About how many miles did she drive all together? Lyric. How are we going to get an estimate? What scale are we using? Rounding. All right, how would we round 191? What would we round it to? 200. What are we going to round 225 to? Also to 200. What are we going to round 107 to? 100. Add them up. What are you going to get? You're writing these in your workbook right now. What would you get? Let me know, Lyric, when you've got it.
I got it.
2 plus 2 plus 1, and add your zeros. What is it, my dear?
I think it's 510.
Bing, 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 bing. She said 500 miles. All right, last one's on your own. Of the 832 people at the hockey game, 292 sat on the visiting team side. The rest sat on the home team side. About how many people sat on the home team side? This is not an addition problem. Just keep that in mind. All right, you need to round first. We're estimating. Let's see how you do on your own. This is your last problem of the day. You got it. Of the 832 people at the hockey game, 292 sat on the visiting team side. The rest sat on the home team side. About how many people sat on the home team side? If you added them, that's impossible. There's there's no way there can be 1,100 people on the home team side if there's only 832 people at the hockey game. Right? That does not make sense. We're not adding. If you reflect, it won't make any sense. Think about what's reasonable, what makes sense when you reflect. A lot of people are adding. How can that be? Why are you adding? I told you not to add, right? I told you it wouldn't make sense. Of the 832 people, 292 are on one side. The rest are on the other. The rest tells me to do what, Gabe? You gotta subtract. If you add them, then you're gonna get like 1,100, and there's only 800 people, 832 people there. Right? Does that make any sense? Think about your problem-solving skills. Visualize what makes sense. All right, Madison, what did you do?
So I rounded 823 and I
832, what'd you round it to?
I rounded it to 800.
Okay, what'd you do about 292? What'd you round that to?
I rounded it to 600.
Okay, and we know we have to subtract how many, we're estimating how many people sat on the home team side.
I got 5.
About 500 people. Now let's reflect. Does that make more sense? Of the 832 people at the hockey game, 292 sat on the visiting team side. About 500 sat on the home team side. Yeah? Is that reasonable? Does that make sense? Yes. We use rounding to make estimates, so when we don't have paper and pencil or we don't have the time to actually figure it out, we can get an idea. All right, so how are we feeling about rounding and using it to make estimates? If your thumb is sideways or down, good news for you. We are continuing this work on Monday. All right, kiddos, nice job today. I will see you guys on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Way to persevere. Bye, guys.
Bye.